Good evening, and welcome to Neutral News, the program that observes the chaotic theater of human existence from a safe, soundproof distance and simply nods. Tonight we are turning our unblinking gaze upon a phenomenon of immense social and economic significance. A ritual so fraught with peril, so laden with expectation, that it makes international diplomacy look like a quiet game of solitaire. We are, of course, talking about the modern wedding, an institution that begins with a question and ends, months later, in a blizzard of invoices and thank you cards. We have a comprehensive report tonight on this complex human mating dance. We begin with the first and arguably most treacherous phase, the planning. We go to our correspondent, Susan, who has been navigating this minefield with the calm detachment of a bomb disposal expert. Susan.
Neil, the journey from a declaration of intent to the exchange of vows is no longer a simple path. It is a multi-stage logistical exercise, a project management challenge of formidable scale. Our analysis begins with the inciting incident itself, the proposal. What was once a private, albeit significant conversation, has now evolved into a meticulously curated public performance. The contemporary proposal often requires a budget, a location scout, a risk assessment for weather, and, crucially, a concealed photographer to capture the moment for immediate digital dissemination. It has become less a question of love and more a pitch for a social media content series.
A content series. So, the question is no longer merely, will you marry me, but also, will you co-produce this 6-month-long online documentary with me? It's a significant additional clause. And once this initial public offering of affection is complete, the real work begins. The work of deciding who, precisely, is permitted to witness the main event, the guest list.
Indeed, Neil. The formulation of the guest list is the first major administrative and social hurdle. It is a process that can be accurately compared to the drafting of a peace treaty between two historically mistrustful nations. Both families, or parties, come to the negotiating table with their own lists of demands, historical alliances, and non-negotiable delegates. The process involves a complex system of social calculus, balancing reciprocal obligations from other weddings attended against current social relevance and potential for awkwardness near an open bar.
It's a ruthless piece of social auditing. People you haven't spoken to in a decade suddenly find themselves on a provisional list, their fate hanging in the balance, dependent on whether your cousin's new partner is deemed A-list material. To help us understand this delicate process of human classification, we cross now to our sociological cartographer, Graham. Graham, you've been mapping the terrain of the wedding guest list. What have you found?
Neil, what we observe is a strict, albeit unwritten, hierarchical system. At the top, you have the Tier 1 full-day attendee. This is the inner circle, the cabinet members. They are granted access to the entire event from the ceremony to the final regrettable dance. Below them, we find the Tier 2 evening invitee. These are essentially the reserves. They are deployed after the main formalities and the meal, primarily to bulk up the dance floor and create an illusion of greater popularity. Their arrival marks a clear tonal shift in the proceedings, often coinciding with the opening of a less expensive bar tab.
A sort of social second wave.
Precisely. There are further subdivisions. The +1, an often unknown entity whose social value is entirely dependent on the primary guest. And the most precarious category, the maybe. This individual exists in a state of social limbo, their invitation contingent on a higher-ranked guest declining. They are the understudies of the wedding world, waiting in the wings for someone else's misfortune. Mapping these relationships creates a chart of bewildering complexity, a web of loyalties, debts, and potential slights that requires immense diplomatic skill to navigate without triggering a multi-generational feud.
Thank you, Graham. A terrifyingly clear picture of our social structures. So, once you have alienated half of your friends and family through this brutal culling process, the focus then shifts to another modern ritual of profound complexity. I'm talking, of course, about the Stag and Hen Do's. Susan.
The Stag and Hen Do, or bachelor and bachelorette parties, have undergone a significant escalation. What was traditionally a single evening of mild to moderate revelry in a local establishment has metastasized into a multi-day, international logistical operation. The modern event frequently requires air travel to a secondary European city, coordinated accommodation, a themed wardrobe, and a detailed itinerary of fun activities.
It sounds less like a party and more like a corporate team-building exercise designed by a sadist. Are attendees expected to pay for this privilege?
That is the crucial component, Neil. Attendance is not only expected, but comes with a significant financial levy. Participants must allocate not only a substantial sum of money, but also a portion of their finite annual leave from work. This transforms the invitation from a social request into a financial and temporal demand. The entire operation is typically managed via a dedicated messaging app group, a digital space which rapidly descends into a chaotic flurry of payment reminders, passive-aggressive comments about activity choices, and logistical queries that could have been answered by reading the initial message. It has all the joy of organizing a group holiday, but with the added pressure of mandatory fun.
The tyranny of mandatory fun, a truly modern affliction. And all of this is before a single supplier for the actual wedding has even been contacted. Let's touch on that, the procurement phase.
The vetting of suppliers is akin to assembling a team for a high-stakes business launch. Couples must solicit and compare bids from dozens of vendors, from caterers and photographers to florists and entertainers. They must navigate contracts filled with complex clauses and pricing structures that are often deliberately opaque. The wedding industry has cultivated a unique dialect, using emotive language to justify premium pricing. A simple sponge cake is not a cake, it is a bespoke edible centerpiece. A DJ is not a DJ, they are a curator of sonic journeys.
It's a masterclass in marketing. You're not just hiring a photographer, you're investing in timeless memories captured by a visual storyteller. It's remarkable. It brings us to a fundamental satirical question, Susan. At what point in this deluge of spreadsheets, contracts, and political negotiations does the apparatus designed to celebrate the relationship become significantly more complex and stressful than the relationship itself?
The data on that remains inconclusive, Neil. However, anecdotal evidence suggests that the crossover point typically occurs somewhere between finalizing the seating plan and realizing the bespoke floral arch costs more than a reliable second-hand car.
A chilling thought. We will now pause for a moment of quiet reflection before we move on to the day of the ceremony itself. A day governed by a schedule more rigid than a royal visit. That's next. Welcome back to Neutral News, where we are forensically dissecting the modern wedding. We have navigated the treacherous waters of the planning phase. Now we arrive at the day itself, the main event. A day which, on the surface, appears to be a joyous celebration, but from an operational perspective is a high-pressure logistical performance. Susan.
That is an accurate assessment, Neil. The contemporary wedding day operates on a highly structured, almost military timetable. This document, often referred to as the running order, is distributed to key personnel: the couple, the parents, the photographer, the venue manager. It dictates the day's events down to the minute. A deviation of as little as 15 minutes, perhaps due to a longer than scheduled photograph session or a delay in serving the main course, can create a domino effect of logistical complications, threatening the entire operational integrity of the evening.
The tyranny of the running order. It's fascinating. It suggests that spontaneous joy is a risk to be managed, a variable to be controlled. And within this rigid structure, individuals are assigned specific roles. Some are well defined, the bride, the groom, but others, frankly, seem a little more nebulous. I'm thinking of the usher. What is the modern function of an usher?
The role of the usher is a subject of some debate among sociologists, Neil. On paper, their responsibilities include guiding guests to their seats, a task often rendered redundant by the presence of a sign. They may also distribute orders of service. In practice, their primary function appears to be ceremonial. They exist to provide a symmetrical aesthetic for photographs and to act as a role that can be filled by friends of the groom who did not qualify for the more prestigious and speech-requiring role of best man. They are, in essence, decorative placeholders.
As a news anchor, in a posh Southern English accent, slightly cheerfully, human signposts with a designated buttonhole. We go back to our sociological cartographer, Graham, for his analysis. Graham, the usher, an evolutionary dead end or a vital cog in the machine?
Neil, the usher serves a crucial, if subtle, social purpose. They act as a buffer. They are the friendly, vaguely authoritative faces that greet guests upon arrival, creating a sense of order and structure from the outset. Their ambiguity is their strength. They are not high-ranking enough to be intimidating, but they are official enough to be obeyed when they point towards an obvious doorway. They are the non-commissioned officers of the wedding day, executing the grand strategy laid out by the wedding planner, who functions as the field marshal. The role's survival is a testament to our need for perceived order, even when the tasks themselves are functionally superfluous.
So, they are there to make us feel like someone is in charge. Thank you, Graham. A vital service indeed. Now, Susan, let's move on in the timeline. The ceremony is complete, the meal has been consumed, and then a new variable is introduced, the arrival of the evening-only guest.
Yes, Neil. As Graham previously noted, this marks a distinct strategic phase of the event. A new cohort of guests arrives, typically around 2 to 3 hours after the main contingent. These individuals have not witnessed the ceremony or partaken in the formal meal. Their arrival requires a delicate social integration. They must seamlessly merge with the full-day attendees, who by this point have already consumed a significant amount of alcohol, listened to several speeches, and formed a temporary event-specific camaraderie.
It's like introducing fresh troops to a battle that's been raging for hours. There must be a period of adjustment. The day guests are battle-hardened. They've seen things. The evening guests are fresh-faced and full of misplaced optimism.
The dynamic can be challenging. The evening guests often have to piece together the events of the preceding hours through conversational fragments, while the day guests are tasked with the social labor of bringing them up to speed. It is a moment of potential social friction, usually lubricated by the reopening of the bar and the commencement of loud music.
Of course, the great social equalizer. Before the music begins, however, there is one final formal hurdle to overcome: the Speech Gauntlet.
The wedding speeches are a cornerstone ritual, a highly formalized performance with clearly defined emotional beats. Convention dictates a specific order. The father of the bride is expected to be sincere, welcoming, and gently humorous. The groom is expected to be heartfelt, expressing gratitude and love. And finally, the best man. His role is the most complex. He must deliver a roast, a comedic performance that is funny enough to entertain a multi-generational audience, but not so specific or cutting as to cause genuine offense or reveal information that should have remained confidential.
It's a tightrope walk over a canyon of social death. It poses another of our satirical questions. From an operational management perspective, which role carries more undefined responsibilities and a greater risk of spectacular public failure? A middle manager tasked with explaining corporate restructuring to a disgruntled workforce? Or a best man delivering his speech to a room containing the bride's grandmother?
Analytically, the risk profile of the best man is significantly higher, Neil. The middle manager's failure results in decreased productivity. The best man's failure can result in a lifetime of awkward family gatherings and the silent, unending disapproval of his best friend's new in-laws. The stakes are arguably far greater.
Indeed. And with that high-stakes performance complete, the formal obligations are met, and the event can finally descend into its final form: organized chaos on a dance floor. But the wedding industrial complex is ever-evolving. After the break, we will look at modern variations on the theme and the administrative nightmare that follows the confetti. Welcome back to our Neutral News special report on the modern wedding. We have planned it, we have executed it. But the story doesn't end there. The institution is constantly adapting, incorporating new technologies and new anxieties. We now turn to contemporary modifications and the administrative aftermath. Susan.
The traditional template is no longer the only option, Neil. A prominent modern variation is the destination wedding. This is where the ceremony is held abroad, effectively requiring guests to commit their annual holiday and a significant financial outlay to attend. This model presents a high barrier to entry, acting as a form of passive-aggressive guest list filtration system.
So, it's less an invitation, more an invoice for a holiday you didn't choose, in a location you may not like, with a group of people you are contractually obliged to socialize with.
That is one interpretation. It introduces a host of new logistical challenges: navigating foreign legal systems, managing suppliers in a different language, and the inherent conflict between formal wedding attire and tropical climates. It is project management on an international scale. Another modern evolution concerns the act of gift-giving. The traditional gift registry, with its toasters and towels, has largely been superseded.
Ah, yes, the delicate matter of asking for money.
Correct. It is now common practice for couples to request direct financial contributions. This is typically couched in soft, aspirational language, such as donations towards our honeymoon fund or a contribution to help us build our future. This effectively transforms a tradition of gift-giving into a crowdfunding campaign for a house deposit or a trip to the Maldives. The gift has been re-engineered as a financial instrument.
It's admirably direct. We don't want your sentimental crystal vase, we want its cash equivalent to put towards our mortgage. It strips away the pretense, and this modernization extends into the digital realm, does it not?
It does. Couples are now required to function as the digital media managers for their own event. A key task is the creation and dissemination of a unique wedding hashtag, such as #SmithandJonesGetHitched2025. This is designed to collate all guest-generated social media content into a single searchable stream. It's a form of unpaid digital marketing for one's own life event.
A brand management exercise, but there is a counter-movement, isn't there? The so-called unplugged wedding.
Yes, some couples are now instituting a strict no-phones policy during the ceremony or even the entire event. This requires a formal announcement and signage, effectively imposing a form of localized media blackout. The stated aim is for guests to be present in the moment, but it also serves to give the professionally hired photographer exclusive content capture rights, preventing unflattering amateur photographs from appearing online before the official curated images are released.
A form of social media martial law. It's all quite exhausting. And once the confetti has settled, the honeymoon is over, and the social media buzz has faded, there remains one final Herculean task: the thank you card project.
The dispatch of thank you cards is the final administrative hurdle. It is a project that requires meticulous record-keeping, where the couple must cross-reference a complete list of attendees with the specific gifts or financial contributions they received. Following this, they must compose a large number of personalized, yet fundamentally formulaic messages of gratitude. Failure to complete this task within a socially acceptable timeframe can undo much of the goodwill generated by the wedding itself. It is the last lap of a bureaucratic marathon.
A truly Sisyphean undertaking, which leads us to our final satirical question for the evening. In our age of instant, ephemeral digital communication, of emails, texts, and social media posts, what is the precise, scientifically calculated formula used to determine the socially acceptable grace period for the dispatch of a handwritten thank you card via traditional post? We put this to Graham. Graham, what is the statute of limitations on gratitude?
Neil, our models suggest the formula is surprisingly complex. It is not a fixed period. The grace period, let's call it T, is calculated as the cost of the gift, C, divided by the social proximity of the giver, P, multiplied by the age of the giver's eldest relative, A. There is also a destination wedding coefficient, which adds an additional 6 months to allow for recovery from the logistical and financial trauma. Broadly speaking, however, a card arriving within 3 months is considered prompt. After 6 months, it is considered a pleasant surprise. After 1 year, it is received with deep suspicion, as if it were a clerical error.
Thank you, Graham. A formula for us all to bear in mind. So, to summarize, the modern wedding is a logistical, financial, and diplomatic endeavor of the highest order. It begins as a curated social media event, proceeds through a phase of ruthless political negotiation and international travel planning, culminates in a day of military-grade scheduling, and concludes with a prolonged period of administrative project closure. It is a testament to the human spirit's infinite capacity for creating elaborate, stressful, and profoundly expensive ways to tell ourselves that we are happy. Good night.